The NBA Draft Lottery, possibly one of the most important days in the history of a franchise, specifically for the Toronto Raptors, who don't always bring in the highest ranked free agents. So, since we're only one day removed of this draft lottery, here's everything that you need to know as a Raptors fan. Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans to Amateur Hour Sports. This is a channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors 4 days a week. That is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. This is your Monday episode where we are breaking down everything that you need to know about this upcoming draft lottery and the chances that we could significantly alter the future of the Toronto Raptors. But if you like what you see from today's video and you want more of myself talking about the NBA and Raptors in videos and content just like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below to show support to the channel. Thank you so much for helping me hit 3,500 subscribers. We are well on our way to that 4,000 subscriber milestone. Thank you so much for the support. Again, also, if you want to watch along the NBA draft lottery with us, the whole amateur sports community, make sure to check out our Twitch, twitch.tv/amateur sports. We go live at 8 p.m. Eastern time to break down more information, live reaction to that draft lottery. Let's hope it goes the best for us. But let's break down the chances of it going very well for us in this draft lottery. And again, the Toronto Raptors, who don't always bring in the best free agents. In fact, one would say they never do. They have never had success really going into free agent markets, so they have to build up their teams through trades first of all, but more importantly through the NBA entry draft. And you know, the Raptors, they've clearly done it. I've got this banner on my wall for a reason. They became NBA champions through this way of building a team, and they have a chance here, a small chance, but they've got a chance at really finding the generational talent that can turn this team's future for the better. I think that no matter what, no matter where we end up in this draft, there's going to be talent, but obviously the further up you go on that totem pole, the better chance you have of finding that definitive number one guy that this franchise so desperately craves, a guy that you can legitimately build around and be a contender. So in this video, what we're going to do, we're going to break down the percentage chance of the Raptors getting every pick from 11 down to 1. We're going to tell you every player the Raptors have selected with that position in the past, and then the clothing slots to end off the video. But let's get into the content. And before we go into that 11 to 1, let's talk about the 7th best odds, the number 1 overall pick, because that is exactly what the Raptors have here. They have the 7th best odds at getting that number 1 pick, who is most likely going to be Cade Cunningham. We have a 7.5% chance of getting that top pick. We have a 31.9% chance of going into the top 4. So decent odds there. And one thing about this 7th best odds thing, you know, it's a little bit peculiar, because the last 3 seasons, the team with the 7th best chance of getting the top pick have actually moved into the top 4. 3 years ago, the Sacramento Kings had the 7th best chances, and they moved into 2nd. They only had a 6% chance of getting that 2nd overall pick, and they did. And they used it to select not Luka Doncic, not Trae Young, but Marvin Bagley? Well, that wasn't the best case. But then the next season, the New Orleans Pelicans had the 7th best odds at that 1st overall pick. And my goodness, they got it. They only had a 7.5% chance, but they got it. And they brought Zion Williamson into their team. And then the last season, the Chicago Bulls had the 7th best chance at getting that top pick. They wound up with the 4th pick and selected Patrick Williams, who didn't start a single game in his college career, but actually is proven to be a decent NBA player. The jury is still out on that one. But the Raptors end up in this position. You could spin it that, okay, the 7th pick always moves up, or you could spin it to, well, the 7th pick is due not to move up this season. They're probably due to move down, but none of that matters. It's all about percentages. It's all about luck of the draw. And the luck of the draw starts with the possible 11th pick. And we're just going to touch briefly on this because the Raptors have less than a 0.1% chance of landing this pick. Something absolutely outrageous would have to happen for the Raptors to end up with the 11th pick. So we're not even really going to discuss it that much. The Raptors, I mean, come on. They're not getting this pick. They're not, they can't, right? There's a similar fate for that 10th overall pick. The Raptors only have a 1.4% chance of actually landing in the 10th overall pick position, which means we likely won't be ending up in this position either. There has to be a lot of teams who get lucky to move above us in the draft for this to even be a possibility. It's very unlikely, but again, we do have to discuss the possibility of this happening. The Raptors have never selected 10th before in their history, and don't count on them starting here. The number 9th overall pick is where we can really really start to see the Raptors possibly ending up. There is a 13% chance of the Raptors ending up in this position. This is the third highest percentage out of all the picks on this list because the Raptors, there is a legitimate chance that we finish here. And I think that the Raptors, even if we do finish with that 9th pick, we're still going to get a good player. It would suck, but it is a definitive possibility. And with this pick, the Raptors have had some success in their history, actually. With the 9th overall pick in 1997, we selected Tracy McGrady. In 2009, we used the 9th pick to select DeMar DeRozan. And more recently, Jakob Poeltl was selected in 2016 with this pick. So not quite as good as the first two, but they just showcase that you can still land some good players with the 9th overall pick. Moving on to the 8th pick, this is actually the most likely scenario for the Raptors on draft lottery night because there is a 33.9% chance the Raptors will be selected here. That is by far the highest odds out of any of the picks on the board. There's a 31.9% chance of top 4, a 33.9% chance again of this 8th pick. So guys, if you're playing the numbers, you got to expect the Raptors to end up in this position. But with this expectation, about a third of a chance you end up here, a third of a chance you can also land up in the top 4. So, obviously percentages, it's chances. Likeliest scenario is that the Raptors end up here. Again, there's a possibility of getting a player, but in the past, maybe not the most success here for Toronto. In 2004, we used the 8th overall pick to select Rafael Araujo, who I would consider probably the worst pick in Raptors franchise history. We did a top 5 worst picks in Raptors franchise history on this channel just last week if you want to go check that out. But spoiler alert, he's probably the worst. And we also selected with the 8th overall pick Terrence Ross in 2012. Terrence Ross is a neat and tidy player. He's a fine player. But if you wound up with him in the 8th overall pick spot, you probably wouldn't be the happiest, although he's a lot better than Araujo. If the Raptors end up in this pick, obviously, this is just the past. This is the present. So if the Raptors, ended up with this pick, they'd probably still land a good player. But obviously, the higher, the better. Now, it is funny that we have the highest odds of getting the 8th pick, considering the 7th best odds is number 1. Because when we move into the 7th best odds, we have a 19.8% chance of landing it. So very high odds, once again, of getting this one. But it's kind of peculiar that we have a bigger chance of getting the 8th pick despite us being the 7th worst seed in the NBA. But regardless, legitimate possibility we also end up with that 7th seed. And in fact, if you look at the percentages, there's over a 50% chance we either end up in the 7th or 8th position. So highly possible that we're going to end up here. I would expect this, and anything better, that's just gravy, baby. But if we're anything lower, you have a right to be disappointed here. But I would expect, manage your expectations, I would expect the Raptors to end up in the 7th or 8th position. In the past, there's been some success with this pick. The Raptors in 1995 selected Damon Stoudemire, and that was the first pick in franchise history. I think that's one that really provided the spark that the franchise needed at the time. Coming in, basketball wasn't that popular in Canada and Toronto, so this is the kind of spark that we needed. A good pick there. But also in 2005, we selected Charlie Villanueva with the 7th overall pick. And why do we select a power forward when we had drafted Chris Bosh the year before and already had a ton of power forwards? A good player, not a good pick for the franchise. So the Raptors mixed success with this pick, but obviously that's just the past. The 7th pick, pretty good odds. Expect again the 7th or 8th pick. Now 6th pick, this is where it gets a bit exciting because we have a 0% chance at the 6th pick and a 0% chance at the 5th pick, meaning if you're watching the draft lottery and you don't hear the Raptors called from 7 to 11, that means it's time to party. The Raptors have ended up with a top 4 pick in the draft because it is impossible, literally impossible, to end up with the 5th or 6th pick. Again, it's kind of peculiar, kind of weird, but whatever. If you don't hear us called from 7 to 11, we're getting I would say, a generational talent in the top 4 of the draft. But still, we won't be drafting here, so we can move on to the 4th pick. Now, let's get a little bit excited because with that 4th pick, we actually have an 8.5% chance of landing here. This would be franchise altering. I'm confident that, anywhere in the top 4 is franchise altering. You can get Suggs, Green, Mobley, or Cunningham anywhere, I think, in the top 4. And I think any of those guys are significantly going to alter your franchise. Now, in the past, the Raptors have had good success with the 4th overall pick. They selected Anton Jamison in 1998. 98, somebody else got drafted in that year. A guy named Vince Carter who went 5th. We actually traded Anton Jamison for Vince Carter on draft night. A trade I still don't understand to this day, because why didn't the Raptors draft him? But regardless, we drafted Anton Jamison, turned him into Vince Carter who went 5th. Good things happened there, obviously. We also drafted Chris Bosh 4th overall in 2004 in that loaded 2004 draft. So success in this position for sure has come the way of the Raptors. Moving on to the 3rd pick, we have an 8.1% chance here. Obviously a chance. All these, there's a decent chance. These aren't awful chances. 8.1% chance at the 3rd overall pick. And again, the 7th best odds at going to the number 1 pick have moved into the top 4 every year for the past 3 years. That's just something to fuel the propaganda that the Raptors have a chance of moving up. Obviously manage your expectations, but the possibility is there. Now, moving on to that 2nd overall pick, the Raptors have a 7.8% chance of landing here. In the past, we have selected Marcus Camby in 1996 in this position. Not the best 2nd overall pick in the world, but definitely not a bad pick. Marcus Camby provided a couple good years for the Raptors and had a decent NBA career. There's a lot worse you could do, as we will find out early on in the draft, but a 7.8% chance of going here. I think in this position you get Evan Mobley, but I would honestly give a strong consideration to Jalen Green in this position. We'll see what Masai wants to do, but there is a possibility there. 7.8% chance. Now the big one. The 1st overall pick, the Raptors, they have the 7th best odds of getting here. That gives us a 7.5% chance of going here and landing Cade Cunningham. For the past, I don't know, it feels like it's like 5 months, the Raptors fans on social media everywhere have been spreading the fade for Cade propaganda. But guys, we probably aren't going to end up with Cade, but there's that 7.5% chance. I struggled to see the Raptors messing this one up if they end up with the 1st pick like they did in 2006, where they drafted that dreaded 2006 draft where they got Andrea Bargnani with that 1st overall pick. Now, that was not a loaded draft like this one is, and sure, LaMarcus Aldridge went 2nd, but that mistake will not repeat itself 15 years later if the Raptors somehow, by some miracle of a higher power, cashing in on those 7.5% chance and getting that 1st overall pick. The Pelicans had a 7.5% chance of landing the 1st overall pick and drafting Zion in 2019. They ended up having that happen. The year before, the Kings, 6% chance, the 2nd overall pick, they got it. It's possible, but it's highly unlikely. Manage your expectations. Obviously, this is a franchise-altering player, one you can build around for the next at least 8 to 10 years. It's easy to get excited about the prospect of this, a 31.9% chance at the top 4 pick, but really manage those expectations, okay? Let's be excited, let's be hopeful, let's hope that through 7 to 11, our name does not get called, so we guaranteed have that top 4 pick. But again, manage those expectations. I think the bottom line of all this is that no matter where we are, based on the guys we've drafted in the past, in the 90s and in the early 2000s, really weren't hitting it. But more recently, I think the Raptors done a better job of scouting and picking the players needed to fit into their system. They have done so well with late 1st round picks in the last few years, like getting Siakam with the 27th pick, getting OG Anunoby with the 23rd pick. I think the Raptors are legitimately going to get a very good player no matter where we end up in this draft lottery. Obviously, the higher the better, but I think that it's easy to be excited as a Raptors fan no matter where we end up. Let's just hope things go our way tomorrow. But at the end of the day, I have full faith in Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, whoever it is going to be making this decision to get it right. They have done it on so many different occasions. Obviously, there's some bad ones like Bruno Caboclo, but they have done it so well on so many occasions. I have full faith in them no matter who they pick to get it right for the betterment of the franchise. Let's just pray something goes our way here. Remember, we will be live streaming for the draft lottery starting at 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. That is June 22nd. So if you want to watch along, get excited with us, drown your stars with us, make sure you join the stream, twitch.tv/amateursports. The link is down below. But that is the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, remember to hit that like button if you did enjoy the video at any point. Really goes a long way to helping us reach new viewers. Also shows me that you made it to all the way to the end of the video. Remember to subscribe to the channel. On our road to 4,000 subscribers, you can help us get there by hitting that subscribe button right over here. Check out some other videos by that channel that you may enjoy, and always remember, at the end of the day, I believe what I say, and if you disagree, that is okay. Always enjoy the grind, and we'll see you again next time for another video.